Now, Ilhan Omar, our favorite Minnesota Somalian squad member, well, her husband seems to have scrubbed his entire existence from the World Wide Web. See, now, when they met, he was a political consultant. That's it. But then he founded Rose Lake Capital, and they went from having just lint in their pocket to being worth $30 million in less than 2 years. What does Rose Lake Capital do? Well, they're a consulting firm. They work in strategy, equity investments, and government adjacent policy investments. Government policy, as in feed the youth and Medicaid programs and things like that. Maybe even childcare programs. Consulting. Maybe they would help somebody strategically, implement a nonprofit organization that might, take lots of money from the taxpayers. Now, I'm not saying that's what he was doing, but it's very suspicious to me that all of a sudden he scrubbed everything off the internet. Check out his Wikipedia. Like, he doesn't even exist anymore. His LinkedIn is gone. That's a little sus, don't you think? I just want to point out that I brought this to all of your attention weeks ago, and I'm going to give you a little clip of that. Ilhan Omar's net worth has jumped $30 million in 2 years. So while every day when you punch that clock and you grind away, and then you come home still worrying about whether you're going to be able to feed your family at the end of the week, this is what's going on in her living room. Her husband launched a venture capital company, Rose Lake Capital, in 2022. You want to know what they do? They sniff out every federal subsidy, every green energy tax credit, all the ESG slush funds, every loophole Congress writes, and packages it nicely for fat insiders for profit. So if you didn't see that video, because I was way ahead of all this, I suggest you go back and check it out.
Hey beautiful people, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by. So all credit goes to the creators in these videos, guys. Let's break this down in real terms, because in the span of just 1 year, Ilhan Omar, who was essentially broke when she came into Congress, suddenly shows up in financial disclosures with a net worth that skyrocketed. We are talking about between $6 million and $30 million total for her house. So that's like 3,500% increase compared to where she was 12 months earlier, guys. Now, most of that money is not coming from congressional salary, right? No, it is tied to her husband, right? Tim's company, especially his venture, capital firm and their winery, California winery. Now, according to disclosures, right, that VC firm went from almost nothing in value to being worth multi-millions in one reporting here. And this is where it gets interesting, guys. Right at the same time that all these questions about their sudden wealth are exploding, the Lake Capital website quietly scrubbed the names of biographies of key officials and who were previously listed on the site, including high-profile political figures, guys. And just like that, people who used to be publicly tagged with the company are gone, poof, without notice, in the middle of this intense public scrutiny. And people are asking, where exactly did their money come from? Because it all just looks suspicious, and people are questioning the timing. They are saying that there is a lot of things that don't add up in this. There are lots of strange things that are going on, because she was basically broke when she came into office, and now she's worth perhaps up to $30 million. Guys, people are like, she needs to come clean concerning all her assets, guys. And they are thinking that, why exactly scrub up, all those names now? Why remove the people publicly associated with the firm right now, when questions about the valuation of that firm is being broadcast across the internet? Guys, people are suspicious, and honestly, these suspicions are valid, because the math is not mathing. Why do you choose the middle of a of a scrutiny in the middle of the fact that y'all are on the hot seat to scrub off all these names and all these things. That shows that there is more than meets the eye, and it just confirms people's suspicion that they are hiding something. Guys, do you agree? What do you think? Let's see what these other creators have to say, and I'll see you soon.
Ilhan Omar and her husband are in some trouble. Ilhan Omar's husband's venture capital firm was caught scrubbing key officials from their website. And coincidentally, this comes right at a time where people are starting to question where they're actually getting their wealth from. According to reports, Ilhan has gone from nearly being broke to having a net worth of $30 million in just a year. And this comes right as a massive $9 billion fraud scheme involving the Somali community in her district is discovered on her watch. Close to 90 people have already been charged, including 3 people with direct ties to Ilhan. And not only that, but Ilhan, who's of Somali descent, was seen in a resurfaced video handing out food at a restaurant that's at the center of the scandal. And to make matters worse, it was Ilhan who introduced legislation that people are saying laid the groundwork for what feds are calling the largest fraud of the pandemic. Ilhan introduced the Meals Act, which relaxed oversight of government-sponsored children's meals program during the pandemic, which critics say that allowed for people to claim that they served millions of meals without any verification, while simultaneously pocketing millions of dollars in government subsidies. Shortly after the scheme played out, Ilhan Omar's husband and political consultant Tim Minette launched Rose Capital, a venture capital management firm, in 2022. The company saw its reported value go from nearly zero in 2023 to between $5 million and $25 million in just a year. Between September and October of this year, federal prosecutors announced charges against 8 individuals, 6 of them being of Somali descent. And it was at this point that Rose Lake Capital started to scrub their website and removed 9 officers and advisors from their website, none of which have been officially charged. And to make matters worse, her campaign itself is also being linked to the Minnesota welfare scheme.
So Ilhan Omar's husband just made a bit of a big decision, and it could send shockwaves through the entire world of politics as it is coming to light. What am I talking about? Check this out.
Representative Ilhan Omar has accused members of the media of lying about her net worth by misrepresenting congressional records. But Omar failed to follow congressional norms by not disclosing the value of her assets and potentially underrepresenting her husband's investment positions. Her financial disclosure forms suggest she and her husband are worth at least $6 million and as much as $30 million, which has raised eyebrows because the couple said they were worth a maximum of $158,000 2 years ago. Omar's most recent financial disclosures show that her husband has an ownership stake in a winery worth between $1 million and $5 million, as well as a stake in a venture capital firm valued at $5 million and $25 million. Media organizations have used this filing to produce reports claiming that Omar is worth up to $30 million, an assertion the Congresswoman flatly denies. A senior staffer from Omar's office previously told the Washington Examiner that the values on her disclosure forms reflected the full value of the businesses rather than the value of her husband's individual shares in them. Omar has personally used this explanation to dismiss critics, calling her husband one of, quote, several partners in the 2 firms. California business records, however, show that Omar's husband is one of just 2 individuals named as a partner on the winery's statement of organization. The other is its CEO, former top Democratic operative William Haler.
Ilhan Omar has built much of her political brand around accountability, transparency, and ethical governance. Lies. Your own financial disclosures and personal finance relationships, which everybody's going like, whoa, like the eyebrow, the Rock wrestler, WWE guy, the people's eyebrow, whoa, eyebrow got raised. There's some serious ethical questions. You're like, what? Who? Like, you just can't dismiss, you can't walk it, just brush it off as like partisan attacks. Because at an absolute minimum, the situation highlights a very troubling disconnect between the standards that she wants of others and the scrutiny her own actions invite. Public financial disclosure requirements exist for one very simple reason: to make sure that elected officials are not using their positions for personal benefit or allowing private relationships to influence public choices. Okay? In Omar's case, particularly surrounding her husband and his stake in various firms, the documents have drawn widespread attention and concern. Omar's husband received payments from political consulting firm that worked with Democratic campaigns, including at least one that employed Omar herself. Whoa! I get it. It's not... okay, to be exact, it's not illegal for a spouse to work in a political consulting firm. It's not illegal to work in political consulting. Sure. Ethical concerns, though, they do arise when money flows through.
Guys, I feel like there's a bigger backdrop that makes all of this feel like more than a coincidence. Because in Minnesota, the authorities are deep down into massive welfare and pandemic era fraud investigations that prosecutors are saying it involves billions of dollars. Now, federal agents, state investigators, and even members of Congress are talking about how deeply, fraud networks have operated in the states. And different headlines keep coming out about new arrests, expanded probes, so many things. It's so messy. And on top of that, some conservative lawmakers and so-called watchdog groups are now directly claiming that, okay, Ilhan Omar herself is at the top of the suspect list. Now, in relation to all these probes, right, arguing that her husband's business surprise, including this website, purge, lines up suspiciously with the timing of the increasing fraud revelations. Now, listen, no one has publicly produced evidence that Omar has been criminally charged with fraud, right? Or that the money in her disclosures came from illegal activity, right? That part has not been proven yet, so understand clearly. But what is true is that her net worth jumped into millions on the strength of her husband's firm. And those firms suddenly removed key names from their websites. And this is happening right when the public is questioning how Minnesota lost so much taxpayer money in fraud schemes. Now, and ordinary people are looking at it and they're asking that why exactly hide those names? Because why? What are they not letting out to the public, guys? This story is just, I feel it's more than a website cleanup. It's about timing, transparency, and public trust. Because one moment you have got a relatively obscure business, and the next it's a multi-million-dollar in reported value business. Then you remove public leadership info during a scandal, guys, and millions of Americans are seeing that pattern and they are like, there is no way you're going to tell me that nothing is fishy in this matter. Because if you have nothing to hide, right, why scrub off so-called names from your website? If your company has nothing to hide, if you have nothing to hide, if you are clean, if your hands are pure, why scrub off those names and make yourself look, like who people are saying that you are? Guys, this is so complicated, and I feel that so many people just make things more complicated for themselves, because that is exactly what I see that is happening here. And they don't exactly, allow all these allegations that have been put against them. They don't exactly allow people to say, oh, maybe it's not true, because the things they do on a daily basis just allow people to say, okay, maybe they are faulty, maybe they are wrong, maybe they are at fault, maybe they are guilty, day by day. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section about this topic. I know you have a lot to say and I really want to hear from you. But if you have found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.